Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So the Pharisee said to him, You testify on your own behalf, so your testimony cannot be verified. Jesus answered and said to them, Even if I do testify on my own behalf, my testimony can be verified, because I know where I came from and where I am going. But you do not know where I come from or where I am going. You judge by appearances, but I do not judge anyone. And even if I should judge, my judgment is valid, because I am not alone, but it is I and the Father who sent me. Even in your law it is written that the testimony of two men can be verified. I testify on my behalf, and so does the Father who sent me. So they said to him, Where is your Father? And Jesus answered, You know neither me nor my Father. If you knew me, you would know my Father. He spoke these words while teaching in the treasury in the temple, but no one arrested him, because his hour had not yet come. The Gospel of the Lord.
In this Gospel for today, allow me to set the scene a little bit. St. John advises us that Jesus was speaking in the treasury of the temple. It's also the place not only where you would give your contributions and offer your gifts to the Lord that would keep the temple going, but it was also the place where the great festival of light would be given. And Jesus was probably speaking at that time, where huge candelabras were lit, and they say that the light would be so bright that you could see it all over Jerusalem. It's in the middle of this that Jesus stands up and he says that he's the light. I am the light of the world. And you hear the echo of the opening of the Gospel of John, that Jesus is the light in darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it. In this spectacle of light, Jesus announces himself as the light of the world. He illuminates everything. In contrast, have you ever made a decision in the darkness of negativity, anger, jealousy, judgmentalism, temper tantrums because things are not going my way? Did you ever make a decision during that time and later regret it because it was very costly? In the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius advises in rule number 5 that you never make a decision in time of desolation. That's when this negativity and this darkness is around you. Never, ever make a decision in time of desolation. A dear friend and Jesuit, in speaking on the spiritual exercises of Ignatius, would say, he said to me, follow the rules of the exercise exactly, never deviating, except if the Spirit moves you. But in the case of rule number 5, there are never exceptions. Never make a decision in time of desolation. It can become very costly. And so Jesus announces himself as the light of the world. It's in his light that the desolation falls away and is cleared up. In her time of desolation, Susanna, from our first reading, she doesn't necessarily make a decision, but what she first does is she cries out to the Lord, as we heard in that first reading. "O eternal God, you know what is hidden." You see, you can't always see everything, and she knows that. "O eternal God, you know what is hidden and are aware of all things before they come to be." He's the light. "You know that they have testified falsely against me, yet here I am." She is waiting on the light of the Lord. That's her prayer. And in time of negativity and darkness, that's what we need to do before we do anything rash. Imagine how often we could be saved from a costly mistake if we would have only held our tongue or allowed a costly emotion to be suppressed. How often we act on emotion that's fueled by negativity, when if we would wait for the light of Christ and not even move and remain in the silence as Susanna did, if we would just wait for that light before we made a costly blunder, then we would proceed in peace. And even with Susanna, proceeding in peace was not necessarily a painless thing. She made a decision not to comply with a sin that is what ended up putting her into the predicament of this. And that would have caused her great pain, but that's a different type of desolation. It's a pain for righteousness. And she was willing to find peace in enduring that and going to Christ and maintaining her integrity. And so this is how we need to act. Not following the negativity, but the light of Christ in decision making. Christ, who is the light of the world. Christ, who came to extinguish the darkness.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit,